No Michael K.
And that's right, Jake Asman in for Michael, taking you till 3. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot to talk about. It is a football Friday. My football team already disgraced themselves last night in prime time, so hopefully there's no stress watching the other games on Sunday. The Mike Kafka era will get underway. I know Giants fans are pumped to watch Jameis Winston play the quarterback position. Ton of sarcasm in my voice if you can't tell. But we will talk about that. Does Kafka actually have a chance to get the job? We certainly will talk about Aaron Judge winning his 3rd MVP. And as someone who used to do local radio in Houston and covered the 2017 Astros, Aaron Judge should have 4 MVPs, if we're being real. One of the all-time great players. So we will certainly talk about that. But I mentioned the Jets, and we'll get to them right at the start. But once again, Jake Asman in for Michael K. I want to hear from you. 800-919-3776. Connor Rogers, who was on the SNY pre and post last night with Bart Scott, he's going to be joining us coming up at 1:30 for more on the Jets. Last night, in a lot of ways, if I told the Jet fan going into the game, hey, how do you see this going? You probably would have described a lot of what you saw last night. Yet, after watching the game and waking up this morning and thinking about that game again, I'm really disgusted with the head coach of the Jets. I really am disgusted with Aaron Glenn. Because after you listen to how he is basically just gaslighting all of us as Jet fans about Justin Fields, how do you not sit there and just question everything with this head coach? Seriously. The guy that he handpicked and gave $30 million to guaranteed and then said over the course of the summer, he's never been coached properly. We're going to let him play quarterback. We're going to coach him up. And then you watch Justin Fields last night go out there and have 23 yards in the first half of this game, a game that the Jets were lucky to still be in. Let's be real. New England missed a kick at the end of the first half last night. That would have made it a 10-point game. The Jets are not built to come from behind. They're not. Against a good team, no way. You know, the Jets finally used Justin Fields' legs early in this game. The best part of the game was the first drive. Tanner Engstrand, great job with the scripted stuff. Once that went away and Mike Vrabel and the Patriots adjusted, that was it. But I got to listen to the head coach last night after the game. We can't put Justin in a situation where he's a running back, and I think we all know that because we're putting him in harm's way. Coach, you can't put him in a situation where he's your quarterback either. I mean, what are we watching? Justin Fields is leading the Jets to a league low 139 passing yards per game. If that pace continues, it will be the lowest in the NFL since 2022. You know who the starting quarterback was for the 2022 Chicago Bears? Justin Fields. Like, it's enough. Justin Fields is not the answer. It's another game under 120 yards passing. He had another critical turnover in this one. It was a bad snap by Josh Myers. But nonetheless, Fields, can you fall on the ball? How about when the Jets are driving in this game, in the second half, only down 7, they just crossed midfield, and Justin Fields, who, by the way, is in his 5th season, committed one of the most egregious intentional grounding penalties you'll ever see. What are you doing, man? Have a feel for the game. He has none of it, and neither does the head coach, who, again, did not make a quarterback change last night. At halftime, Tyrod Taylor should have been put into the game. You want to give Glenn credit for the Jets not quitting, and they showed fight, and they have improved since they were awful at the beginning of the year. I mean, there's been some improvement, sure. Are we really going to celebrate that? Really? That's where we're at? We're going to celebrate that they didn't quit, they play hard? That's the threshold that the Aaron Glenn truthers need to cross? Come on. We could acknowledge there is a big talent gap. We could acknowledge that the Jets wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 last night were guys who arrived 10 days ago. Right? And A.D. Mitchell, by the way, probably just dropped another pass as I was talking. But there were too many mistakes last night, even beyond the quarterback. The biggest issue is the quarterback, and I have more to say on that. But how about the 12 men on the field after a TV timeout? How does that happen? How does that happen? 12 men on the field after a TV timeout. It's not like it's week 1 and guys are still learning the system, a new scheme. That was the 10th game the Jets played last night. How does that happen? Steve Wilkes, nice guy. He should not be brought back as the defensive coordinator next year. He shouldn't. While the Jet defense certainly does not have as much talent as they once did after trading Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, there's been a problem all year. Guys running wide open. The penalties. Oh, but Jake Glenn's been better with the penalties. Did the Jets not commit 7 last night? Most of them on defense. By the way, Jarvis Brownlee probably just committed another penalty. And how about the play when he didn't realize the New England player never got touched and he got up and kept running? It's just the stupidity that we saw from the Jets. Yes, they played hard. Yes, they were overmatched. But I just don't want to give them a pass because of that. Like, that's the bar? Oh, well, they played hard. You know, they almost covered the spread, depending on what sports book you bet it on. 12.5 some places you lost if you bet the Jets. 13.5 others you won. Like, come on. Last night, the Jets now have tied an NFL record for most games without an interception. And they had chances last night. Tony Adams broke up a pass from his own guy. Quantez Stiggers could have had an interception last night. I mean, just like the list of stupidity. Things that we saw last night that were dumb beyond just Fields. I could keep going. It was so bad, man. And yes, they were a little better in the second half defensively, but did you ever get a sense New England had any fear of the Jets? I think I saw a stat that 80% of New England's defensive plays last night, they had 7 or more players in the box. Yet, can the Jets try and throw more screens to Breece Hall? You know, the only play that allowed Justin Fields to actually finish with 54 passing yards this past Sunday in a win. He would have had 12 without that one from Breece. Like, it's enough, man. Justin Fields should not be the starting quarterback. And I'm listening to Aaron Glenn last night, and he is essentially making every excuse in the book for Fields that I have no confidence in this head coach, even doing what's in the best interest of his team and saving the locker room potentially and starting Tyrod against the Ravens. We don't need to pretend what Justin Fields is. If you were watching Bart on SNY last night, the guy at the desk with him, Willie Colon, said it best. He's not an NFL quarterback. It's okay. He's a good guy. We were happy he played great against the Bengals after Woody, while he was right, said what he said publicly, which he never should do as the owner of the team. But come on. He is not an NFL quarterback. We don't need to pretend. We could stop trying to act like, you know, Justin Fields has been wronged and it's the receivers, the offensive line. Enough. It's not the offensive line. The offensive line has played well this year. He's had time to throw. They've opened up holes in the running game. Armand Membu and Olu Fashion, who look like really good tackles. The only positive for the Jet future is that they got the 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years, and they don't, knock on wood, although I don't know if there's wood in this studio. I don't know what the desk is truly made out of. Probably not wood. Knock on wood, they stay healthy. You don't need to use any of those first on an offensive tackle. You have your tackle set for what better be a rookie quarterback next year, and not this wait till 2027 nonsense that Kirk Herbstreit was saying on the broadcast last night, please. By the way, speaking of Kirk Herbstreit, seems like a nice guy. Can we stop with the dog thing? All right? I'm tired of Kirk Herbstreit's dog going everywhere with him. We all love animals. Props to him. I don't need every shot in the pregame to be Kirk Herbstreit and his dog talking to different players on the field. I'm good. Also, I mean, did you hear what Kirk Herbstreit said about Quincy Williams, saying he lost his brother? That's a very interesting way of saying Quinnen Williams was traded last week. He lost his brother. His brother didn't die. His brother got traded to the Dallas Cowboys, but that's besides the point. It's just, look, you want to give the Jets credit? They were competitive. Is that really where the bar is? I mean, the Patriots last year were a 4-win football team. They've now won more games this year than they had the last 2 years combined. It is coaching. Yes, they have Drake May. But you know what they also have? A real head coach. And I think from a Jet standpoint, I get it. It's early, and Glenn's not going anywhere. But do you really have confidence in this head coach right now? Based on what? Because he could dance great? Because he could go back and forth with the media? He could blame Rich Cimini for the other guys on the beat not getting their injury updates? Is that really what the standard is? I mean, how is this head coach trying to gaslight us into Justin Fields' performance last night? Listen to this crap.
Listen, there are some good things. There's some really good things. I thought he put some balls out there, and we got to have some guys that make some plays for him, too. Obviously, I know for a fact that he's going to say there's some things that he could have done better. Again, we do have to watch the tape, but I thought there were some good things he did out there.
Good things he did out there? Like what? The opening drive, which was all scripted? I mean, it's so frustrating, man. It really is. And it's not even that they signed Fields. I wanted to bring back Aaron Rodgers, but once they moved on from Rodgers, my stance was, if you're going to bring in one of these quarterbacks, Fields at least makes sense because he's only 25, 26, and there's an upside maybe. But the way they just anointed him the starter, said that they were going to coach him up, implying that Mike Tomlin didn't coach him. Mike Tomlin compared to Aaron Glenn. Are we serious? We're going to bank on Mike Tomlin's football acumen or Aaron Glenn? Mike Tomlin benched him at 4-2. That wasn't a red flag. And I said it at the time, so this is not revisionist history. I'm on the record saying this. Just handed him the starting job. Said that they're going to coach him up. He's never been coached properly. Really? This is their hand-picked guy. And now, yes, let's trust Aaron Glenn to evaluate the quarterbacks coming out of college this year and pick the right guy. I mean, I guess it could work. You know, even guys that are really good at picking quarterbacks can mess that up. See Kyle Shanahan picking Trey Lance. It happens. I get it. But I just have not seen enough from this Jets team that makes me feel like they're still headed in the right direction. The only thing they've done is convince the owner, Woody Johnson, that they have this master plan to have sustained winning, which is why Woody was able to give the clearance for them to trade Sauce and Quinnen to get these draft picks. But think about why they were in that position in the first place. They were 1-7. This was not a 1-7 roster. So the Jets have proven in their wins over the Bengals and the Browns, they're not going to be the worst team in the league. Right now, they're projected to pick third. They'll probably be in that range, right? Tennessee, the Saints, they're in that range. We'll see what the Giants are now with Kafka. If Dart's not playing this week, what does that mean? Well, there's some other bad teams in this league, there's no doubt. And the Jets were never in position with a 6.5 win total going into the year to be this bad. Yet here they are. And that does not give me any hope for the future. It doesn't. I don't know how it could. I mean, are they better than they were when they played the Bills or the Miami Dolphins on Monday Night Football right now? Sure. But they're still making a ton of mistakes. They still don't force turnovers. They still commit dumb penalties. And the head coach has absolutely no feel for the quarterback spot whatsoever. And if he's too stubborn to bench Fields because he realizes that was his handpicked guy, who cares at that point? The owner came out and said if we could just complete a pass, it would look good. They were going to start Tyrod Taylor if he was healthy enough to play in that Cincinnati game. He didn't make the trip because he was so banged up. But last night, he was the backup, and he's not on the injury report. So I have to take the Jets at face value here that Tyrod was a healthy player. And they didn't go to him again last night. How many times are we going to make the same mistake again and again and again? How many times? What's the definition of insanity? It's starting Justin Fields every damn game. He's not the answer. He's managed to get over 100 passing yards for only the second time his last 5 starts. And the head coach is continuing to play him. The perfect time to go to him would have been at the half last night, to go to Tyrod, I mean. It's incredibly disheartening. It really is. Not that I thought the Jets would necessarily win, but I can't celebrate being competitive when I don't feel like the coach did everything in his power to give his team actually the best chance to try and steal a win and really build confidence. You want to prove the 2 wins over the Browns and the Bengals is not just, hey, it's the NFL. You could beat bad teams every now and again if you're also a bad team. And you had a chance last night. But the head coach is trying to gaslight us that Justin Fields is the guy. Oh. And yes, the drops are bad. Every team has players who drop passes. You have to overcome it. And I was talking about this with Bart before the show today. You knew early on when he missed that pass to Mitchell, I think it was on the Jets' second drive, just a ridiculous incomplete pass, right? It was like a speed out. Same play he missed Garrett Wilson on that got Garrett Wilson hurt, who's now on IR, by the way, because he was so late. Garrett got hit. It was a hospital ball. Remember that play in London? Yeah. Same type of route last night. And once Fields missed it, you knew, well, here we go. Justin Fields is like a starting pitcher that you know if he has it or if he doesn't, right? You know, hey, this guy doesn't have it tonight. Not your night. We're going to the bullpen early. That's Fields. When he's locked in, you know he's locked in. And it's been rare, but we've seen it, twice this year? Week 1 and then the Bengals game? When he doesn't have it, it is so obvious to anyone with a brain besides the head coach of the team, and that's a problem. That's a problem. They need a lot on this team. They need more depth, the linebacker depth. Michael Clemens is a disaster. The fact that he's playing tells you how bad the guys behind him must be. They need entirely new safeties. They definitely need more depth at corner. You could fix all that. You could fix defense in an offseason. You can't just fix head coach if he doesn't have it, and you can't just get a quarterback. And right now, the New York Jets don't have a head coach in my mind or a quarterback. Head coach to be determined. We hope he gets better because I don't think he's going anywhere. But quarterback, it can't be Fields. And the other reason why you need to start Tyrod is this. How could we properly evaluate this roster with a quarterback who can't throw? Seriously. Do we want to know if we have maybe a potential number 2 or number 3 receiver on this team going into next year? An A.D. Mitchell or John Mechie, who actually looked good on the 3 receptions he had last night? How do you know? I think Mason Taylor's a good tight end. I'd like to see him get more opportunities, especially with Garrett Wilson out at least the next 3 games and maybe the rest of the year, because why bring him back in Week 15? Just put him on the shelf and get him ready for next year. But how could I evaluate what I have with a quarterback that can't complete a pass? That's the problem. You're not getting a proper evaluation of the guy, of your roster. And also, Tanner Engstrand, great opening script last night. I thought he actually had some other good play calls last night where guys were schemed open and Fields couldn't hit the throw. I want to know, do we have the right offensive coordinator? I think Steve Wilkes has got to go. I think the defense is terrible. All right, how many times is Steve Wilkes going to run man on 3rd or 4th down and watch his team get beat every time before he tries something different? I mean, it took Drake May till his 12th pass to throw an incompletion last night. Give me a break. So I think they need an entire new vision on defense. Maybe the head coach, who's a defensive guy, should get more involved. Just a thought. But offensively, I think Engstrand has shown us some stuff, but do we know? Do we know when Justin Fields is his quarterback? That's why, for the sake of the team, start Tyrod, and when he inevitably gets hurt after a couple games, I'd give Brady Cook a chance. Why not? Why not? And if he stinks, you know what? At that point, you have a respectful tank. You're trying to win. You just maybe can't. But that's also Justin Fields. Maybe that's why Glenn is playing him. Maybe Aaron Glenn is so smart he's playing the long game. The same guy who didn't know how long the game-winning field goal potentially was in London at the end of that game. Oh, is it 65 or 68? Aaron, it was 61. Remember Aaron Glenn after that game, by the way, first half debacle. He said he regretted not throwing the Hail Mary at the end of the first half of that game. What does he do a week later against Carolina? Take his timeouts into the locker room and not throw the Hail Mary. So we're seeing the same mistakes, not pulling the quarterback again last night. I just have major concerns about this coach. And he's going to get more time. Hopefully he gets better. But he'd be an outlier if he turns it around and ends up being a good head coach. Oh, but Dan Campbell was bad too. Great. If our only hope is that Aaron Glenn turns out to be Dan Campbell, I'm not feeling great about that. I'm just not. 800-919-3776. Jake Asman in for Michael K. We start with the Jets, of course, who lose last night to the Patriots 27-14. It is disgusting that New England is now 9-2. It is just disgusting that their rebuild was all 2 years. God, I hate them. I hate their fans. I hate the city. I hate their owner. I hate everyone associated with the Patriots. And to all those saying, but Jake, it's better for draft positioning now. Really? If you're a real Jet fan, you wanted them to win last night against the Patriots. Don't tell me you're happy that they lost because you get a better draft pick. Because where's that gotten the Jets? They've actually picked the right quarterback before, but we didn't know until years later because they failed him with the coach and the roster around him. Sam Darnold, remember him? 800-919-3776. Connor Rogers, he will be on with us coming up at 1:30. Got a lot to say on Aaron Judge winning his 3rd MVP award, so we'll get to that as well, plus some thoughts on the Knicks, the Kafka era, but we're starting with the Jets. And let's say hello to David in Rego Park, who's first up on the Michael K. Show with Jake Asman today. What's up, David?
Hi, Mike. I love the show. I love the way you're showing how the Jets are doing bad. But I just have one. I just have one question for you. What you were talking about Aaron Glenn. I want your opinion about how he refuses to talk about the injuries, the injury reports, and how he refuses to say who the starting quarterback is for the weekend before the game starts.
What about it? Was there a question there?
Like I want your opinion on it.
My thoughts on him not.
Do you think it's?
Yeah, I think it's silly, David. I think it's a silly tactic that offers no real competitive advantage. And I thought what he did this week, specifically with Rich Cimini, was ridiculous. Because guess what? Rich was right. Garrett Wilson got placed on IR before the game yesterday. Would he really think that the Patriots were going to be caught off guard by Garrett Wilson suffering a knee injury on Sunday and then he was going to play on a short week on Thursday? Come on. It's just I can't think of a guy that came in as an a-hole to the media and it actually worked out. Like Matt Patricia tried this. It was a disaster in Detroit. I don't think you could be a jerk to the media unless you've earned the right to be a jerk, to quote Michael Kay, whose seat I'm sitting in right now. Right? Like, Parcells wasn't always the Parcells we remember. When he started coaching the Jets with Aaron Glenn as one of his players, he already had 2 Super Bowl rings. Right? Like, Belichick, he could get away with whatever he wanted to say because he won. Aaron Glenn's 2-8. He's not going to name a quarterback. He's going to play the games with Rich Cimini with the injury report. It's silly. It doesn't do him any good. It just, look, ultimately, if he wins, no Jet fan's going to care, myself included. But it's like he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt now next year if they get off to a terrible start. I find it to be incredibly unlikable. If Aaron Glenn wasn't an awesome Jet 30 years ago, would he be getting this type of benefit of the doubt from some Jet fans right now? I don't think so. And honestly, this is the fastest I could remember a lot of Jet fans being this down on a first-year coach. Usually it's, hey, give him more time. And we still have to with Glenn because I don't think he's going anywhere. But this is the fastest I've ever been out on a head coach, that's for sure. And I hope he proves me wrong, but, like, what are we talking about, man? Justin Fields did some good things last night. Oh, we can't run him that much because we're putting him in harm's way? That's the whole point of signing him. If you can't run him, don't play him. This guy had 1,100 rushing yards in a season before. I thought the plan was to ground and pound, be like the Eagles. That's what Glenn said over the summer. Brutal. Ira in Staten Island is up next. What's up, I?
Hey, what's happening, Jake? Now, he's an utter disaster. You shouldn't even waste your breath complaining about him. We're going to just have to ride this out another, 17 games next year and whatever we got left, 7 games this year. He'll never have a winning record with the Jets. But, you look at look at this offense. The last 4 touchdowns that we have scored, look how ridiculous this is. Mitchie catches a ball last night because the defender fell down. We probably would have ended up with a field goal. A kickoff, a punt return, and a Breece Hall screen pass. Those are your last 4 touchdowns for this offensive team. That's really embarrassing. And forget about the defense. Aaron Glenn, 3 out of his 4 years in Detroit, his defense was ranked bottom in the league, and you saw it last night. The secondary looks in such disarray. I've seen better coverage and two-hand touch on a street game than I've seen from the Jets in the secondary. And you know what? The score is indicative of how that game was played. I think the Patriots could have put up 45 points if they had to last night. They you said the first drive was scripted. It's a shame. Breece Hall, 2 targets after he had a big game the week before. And don't tell me that the Pats took him out of the game because he was in the flank a lot. So, honestly, I just can't wait for this season to end. I've never felt this way. Just get the season over as quickly as possible, get rid of next year, and then hopefully we'll have the right coach a year after.
It's sad that we're at that point, Ira, but I understand why you feel that way. Look, if I could press a button and sim through the remaining Jets season, I would in a second, right? We know the Jets ownership seems to value Madden. So if we could sim through the rest of the Jets season, I would love to be able to press a button and do that. It's just so disheartening. They can have all the draft picks in the world. If you don't have the right coaching staff, it might not matter. Some quarterbacks can overcome terrible coaching. I don't know if this is the quarterback class for that, though. There's a debate on who the top guy is. Even if you get the quarterback right, like, is defense going to be any better next year? I mean, they have resources to improve it, but is Glenn going to hire the right coordinator? Is he actually going to stick with Steve Wilkes? Glenn actually just spoke moments ago, and he was asked about the quarterback situation, and he said, quote, "I'm evaluating everything, to be honest with you." So he did not shoot down questions of a change. I'll say it again. If Aaron Glenn starts Justin Fields next week against the Ravens, he should fire himself. Seriously. That might be harsh. I don't think it is. Do not tell me that you are putting your team in position to have a chance to win with a guy who is averaging 138 passing yards per game. Lowest in the league by far. It'd be the lowest in the NFL since 2022 when Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears had that distinction. It's enough. And for Glenn to say, this is what drove me nuts last night, for this coach to say after the game, oh, well, we can't run Justin Fields because we don't want to put him in harm's way, then why is he out there? Because he can't throw. You either run him and say, we're using your legs tonight, put it all out there, and then you'll have 10 days to recover before Baltimore because that's what we need from you, or you're not playing. I don't need to be gaslit by the coach after the game. It's enough, man. Oh, but Jake, there were drops. Yes, and that's a problem. but there were 3 drops last night. That's not an excuse for Justin Fields to have the fumble, the intentional grounding that killed a drive, to miss throws that were open. The whole thing just disgusts me. It really does. 800-919-3776. Connor Rogers will join us. He was on the postgame show on SNY late last night with Bart Scott, Willie Colon, and Steve Gelbs. We'll get Connor's thoughts on the Jets. Aaron Glenn saying moments ago that he's evaluating everything when it comes to his quarterback situation. He better start Tyrod Taylor next week against the Ravens. More coming up. Jake Asman in for Michael K. You can watch the show on YouTube. You can tweet me at Jake Asman on X. We're with you till 3. Then it's Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg on our air, so keep it right here on 880 ESPN New York and the ESPN New York app. Connor Rogers, who was up late last night with our guy Bart Scott and Willie Colon on the SNY pre- and post-game show. He's going to be joining us right now to talk more about the state of the Jets following a loss to the Patriots on Thursday Night Football. Connor, always appreciate you hopping on with us, my friend. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, anytime, Jake. Thanks for having me, man. How are you?
I'm hanging in. So I was talking with Bart before the show that I'm doing right now, and we were almost just laughing at just how insane it was for Aaron Glenn to basically try and justify Justin Fields' performance last night. I know you were up there on the desk being critical of the performance as well. Give us your thoughts just on what we saw from Fields, and obviously afterwards Glenn trying to explain away what we did see in that game.
Well, I think trying our best not to pile on Fields. Willie said this really well, too. At some point, it's what Justin Fields is, and it's on Aaron Glenn, right? And, full transparency, you watched that game last night when the Jets are 13-point, 12.5-point underdogs, and it felt like they played above their weight class in a lot of different areas, right? The offensive line I thought was really good. They can run the ball against the New England defense that was the top rushing defense coming into the game. They weren't really allowing anything. The defense is a skeleton crew, and it wasn't perfect, but it also could have been a lot worse with them considering that, you're down Azaria Thomas. You just traded Sauce Gardner, so you're kind of patchworking the secondary together, and you have a lot of young players out there. And you look at the front, once again, Harrison Phillips comes into the game hurt. You just traded Quinnen Williams, so you're trying to figure out what that front looks like. I think it's been a tough year from Sherwood. I thought the defense battled where it can be really hard to evaluate this team right now, Jake, with Justin Fields under center. And it's not just, everybody's counter that defends Justin Fields is like, well, Adonai Mitchell dropped a couple passes. The problem is the Jets are so poor in the pass game right now, largely because of Fields, that those drops are magnified and amplified because you don't have any room for error because of how bad things are. It's sometimes the throws that aren't made, holding on to the football. Not having Breece Hall involved in the pass game in any capacity at all in this one. For Adonai Mitchell's drops, he also missed a wide-open Adonai Mitchell on a few different occasions as well. So, and the Jets, as soon as they fall from behind, they can't play in a drop-back script because Fields is one of the worst passing quarterbacks in the league right now. So this isn't about piling on Justin Fields. This is about doing what's right by all those other guys in the locker room that are fighting hard enough to maybe not win these games, but at least be competitive and be in these games by a score.
Connor, at what point, and you kind of alluded to it, is like Aaron Glenn going to wake up and realize everything you just said, right? To be able to properly evaluate the roster, you just can't do it with this quarterback. This was the 6th time the Jets had fewer than 100 yards of offense in the first half of a game this season. And not that I necessarily think they would have won if they made the change and went to Tyrod, but you're only down 7. Like, you would have had an opportunity to at least make this a real game, and now we never know. And he's made this mistake, I feel like, a couple times this year, and he still hasn't learned from it.
Well, that's exactly right. It's your job as the head coach is to put the team in the best possible situation to win the game. And there's now just been too many occasions where Aaron Glenn hasn't done that. Whether you want to look at the no-brainer that was against Denver, where even if you didn't come out of the half with Tyrod playing, in the fourth quarter, you probably needed 20 to 25 yards more to win that game with the field goal, and you couldn't get it. And it's beyond that. Even, and if not now, when? Because the reality is for the Jets, you now have the mini bye. You have 10 days of rest. It gives you extra practice time, and the offense is different with Tyrod. It puts more on the menu passing-wise and less with the running scripts. So it gives the offense adequate preparation time to prepare. And, I know he just said right before we got on this segment that he's evaluating everything. It feels like it has to be now because you do reach a boiling point where you want to stick by him, and the argument always is you don't want the guy's confidence to be shot. But we've reached that bottom. There is, we're at the basement of the confidence right now, and we're at the basement of confidence where the argument was maybe they want Justin Fields to be here next year to be, whether it was a bridge for a rookie or a backup quarterback with the money they're paying him or whatever it was. I don't even think they could have any confidence in bringing him back on the roster at all in that capacity with what's happened here, where what are you holding on to at this point? And you do need to evaluate the rest of this offense. You need to see what Adonai Mitchell and John Mechie have for you. You need to see what the offensive line can do, pass protecting in a more traditional pass drop back script. And you need to give the defense a better chance. Because look at when Will McDonald had 4 sacks all week, everybody's asking me, why is he running hot and cold like this? Look at the sacks: 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15, another 3rd and long, and then a 4th and 1. You have the other team in a script that's more advantageous to your defense, but the Jets never do. So it's harder on everyone's life when you are playing this brand of football. Nobody in the NFL can win this way. No, and if Aaron Glenn, you didn't have to come out and win 9 games this year. You didn't have to come out and win 7 games this year. You just need to show something and put your team in the best position to succeed. And that's why I think ultimately he has to move to Tyrod for these next 10 days.
Totally agree, and that's why I had such a major problem with what we saw last night. As we're talking with Connor Rogers, you watch him pre and post SNY with the Jets. He's on NBC Sports all the time. Also does the awesome Badlands podcast with Joe Caporoso, which you can listen to on Patreon, covering the Jets as well. Connor, when you look at Tanner Engstrand, I actually thought, especially, of course, the opening drive, but some of the other plays last night, it felt like he tried, he schemed some things open, and then Fields couldn't hit the play, or there were some drops mixed in. But even talking about the roster, I also want to be able to properly evaluate Engstrand, because if we assume Glenn's not going anywhere and he keeps Engstrand, well, he's got the most important job trying to develop the rookie as well. So that's another reason why I think you have to make the change and properly evaluate your play caller down the stretch. Is that fair as well?
It's a great call, Jake. It goes down to not just evaluating your roster, but you're also evaluating your coaches. Because the reality is, if they take a rookie quarterback in this draft, and that's not a lock, the way the structure is of how many picks they also have in 2027 and who declares and who doesn't declare, because we don't know that yet for this draft. But also, even if you don't take one, you're probably going to have a different bridge quarterback. And you need to know what your offensive staff is good at. You need to have an understanding of its limitations, and if you could trust these guys with that giant task. Now, obviously, Engstrand's not going to be a one and done. I actually think he's been more promising than a lot of people realize. When you turn on the All-22, there are guys open. On that opening script, he's emptying the bag of everything they could do within a Justin Fields offense. It's just eventually the defense is going to take those things away, and you become so one-dimensional. So just as much as I said you need to put your team in the best position to succeed, and it sounded like, more about the roster, it is also about the coaches. And that could also be said for Steve Wilks, right? It hasn't been a good year for Steve Wilks. And the argument for Steve Wilks is the talent on defense isn't great. And the fact is the offense does not put them in great spots, that it goes back to them not having that pass rush script. But we also don't know. Like, if the Jets are leading more games instead of 1 or 2 throughout the year, can Steve Wilks close the door on these games with how he calls his defense? So there's so many different layers that you need to evaluate right now that you simply can't because of the quarterback play.
Connor Rogers, SNY pre and post with the Jets, is with us here on the Michael K. Show. Jake Asman in for Michael till 3. Speaking of Wilks, how the heck did the Jets commit a 12-men on the field penalty following a TV timeout? And then you had a bunch of other penalties beyond that, 6 more besides that one. And the one thing that I thought Glenn was doing a better job of the last few games was controlling the penalties. But last night, it reared its ugly head again. So there's really nothing I could point to right now besides maybe the special teams. I think Chris Banjo's been great in that department, that I think the Jets are really doing a great job at, or have significantly improved on from last year. And I thought the Jets were terribly coached last year too.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Last night was a tough regression back to what's been most of the norm this season. I thought that, Jarvis Brownlee is a guy that you like that they acquired him in the style of football he plays, but you could see when he gets exposed, whether it's playing on the outside or having to get grabby against bigger wide receivers like Mac Hollins. So once again, it's just, they're trying to make, chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what at times out there, and it's not always easy, but there is also organizational defects here that lead to these penalties and these, kind of boneheaded moments. And honestly, to piggyback off of what you just said, also just their rotations. I mean, there was a second and long last night where their pass rushers, I think, were Michael Clemens and Tyler Barron on the edge. Right. And you know what happened? A long completion because they can't get home with that. Why are Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson not on the field? Right? So when it comes down to it, I understand there's also substitution issues at times that prevent you from doing that, but they get so cute with their rotations. Their second wave of edge players would not play for any other team in the NFL. I firmly believe that. And I think that's an indictment on the roster construction because, once again, Barron is a guy that they traded up for to take in the 5th round and needs to play key reps this year that he's clearly not ready for. And they went into the year with years and years of tape of Michael Clemens. And, you know, it's the classic, like, hey, it didn't work for any staff before us, but it might work for us. That's the kind of stuff that really bothers me because those are little things on the margins that you need to be better at because you're just not talented enough to overcome those things.
Connor, how can you explain the Jets defense with, by the way, a defensive head coach now having 10 games with just 1 turnover, which is now an NFL record?
Yeah, it's almost unfathomable, right? Where you kind of laugh last night when you have a safety, you know, run into a corner to burn an interception opportunity. But I think it speaks to this, though. There is part of it that's schematic, Jake. Their blitzes are wildly uncreative. They are the king of, and I watch a lot of this league-wide, the Jets are the king of rushing 5, and all it does is takes away one defender that could help in the field. Teams pick it up. They know where the guy's coming from. 5 could block 5, or 6 can block 5. They don't really floor it with their blitzes, and then when they do, once again, they're easily picked up and easy to distinguish. There's no contain. So quarterbacks get free and pick up yards with their legs all the time with the lack of gap integrity and contain. It's just, honestly, from what I've seen, and we got to let the rest of the season play out, though, but if this is the Steve Wilkes defense schematically, and I know he doesn't have the most talent, I've defended him there, it's not good enough. Here's the thing. This isn't new. This isn't a blip on the radar. This has been Wilkes' problem with his last couple stops. And, you know, I get that Aaron Glenn wants his coaches to coach, and he wants to worry about the whole team. But the team's not playing well. So you need to go – this is something that drives me nuts with NFL coaches is you got that job because you have a calling card, right? Nobody just falls into that job because they were okay at everything. There had to be something you were great at to get you that job, right? Mike McDaniel got the Miami job because he was the best run game coordinator in the entire league. And say what you want about the Miami Dolphins, who are not good – they can run the hell out of football, and they're creative with that. And Mike McDaniel never stepped away from that when he got that job. I can use an example for almost every coach in the league in this regard. Why is Aaron Glenn so hands-off on the defense right now that's struggled? Right? Like at some point, you have to go back to your calling card to improve your team any way you possibly can.
Well said. Final question, and I'm sure this will be the first of many times I ask you this, but you do the podcast, the NFL Stock Exchange with Trevor Sikkema. So you're an expert in the draft. You're doing the draft for NBC every year. The Jets right now, Connor, are projected to pick 3rd. Who would you pick if you're Glenn and Muji, assuming both guys are going to be the ones making that pick in this draft in April?
This is where it gets really tricky because there's no lock that, you know, all the quarterbacks declare. And if you're picking 3rd, let's say Mendoza's the only – if I had my quarterback of my choice, I would take Ty Simpson from Alabama. I don't know if he's going to be in the draft. And I don't know if he'll make it to the Jets if he is. And it's 50-50 if he ends up being in the draft. I'd call Dante Moore more 25-75 that he's not in the draft. And then obviously Mendoza is somebody that could be the number 1 overall pick, although I think that's people getting a little over their skis. And then honestly, if there's not a quarterback that they like, you know, some people might not want to hear this, but if you're not getting one of the best players in the draft, whether that's Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver of Arizona State, or Arvell Reese, the front 7 weapon rushing the passer and that linebacker from Ohio State. Now, I could see a scenario where you even trade the pick again and take a wide receiver when you move back and get even more picks with how much this roster has to go and the fact that you're going to be stockpiling even more for 2027. So the short answer to your question is Ty Simpson, Jordan Tyson, or Arvell Reese. But like I said, there's so many unknowns that we are currently sitting with before the declaration date.
Mock drafts in November, Connor. It's become a rite of passage as Jet fans.
Come on.
Just brutal. Just brutal. I appreciate you coming on, Connor. You're the best. Great job last night with Bart and Willie on SNY, and really appreciate you coming on as always.
Jake, always great talking to you, man. Have a good weekend.
Connor Rogers, SNY, NBC, Badlands, NFL Stock Exchange Pod with PFF. Great stuff from from him there. And look, he's right. The Jets right now, I think they made these deals to get their quarterback of the future. You don't want to force it, but I feel like you're almost obligated to just find a way to get one of the two top quarterbacks if there only ends up being two you believe in. But we'll see. They do have the capital for 27, but I think the deals were made to get the guy this year and then use those future picks and then surround that guy with the infrastructure he needs to be successful. But it's depressing, man. It's November 14th. We're doing mock drafts. It just shoot me. We get back to your calls on the Jets, and we say hello to Tony on Long Island, who's first up this segment on the K Show with Jake Asman. Hello, Tony.
Hold on, guys. Yeah, listen, just confused by the take on Justin Fields. Moments ago you said, if you're the head coach, you might as well fire yourself for playing Justin Fields. And listen, I'm not a Jet fan, so I don't have any bias in this in terms of the Jets. Who else are you going to play?
Tyrod Taylor.
Who are you going to play? Okay, so you're going to play Tyrod Taylor. How's the Jets' offensive line?
Very good.
It's horrible, right?
No, it's not horrible. It's actually very good. Goodbye. You lose the right to speak if you come in with utter nonsense. Goodbye. You're not a Jet fan, right? You have no dog in the game. You don't watch the Jets. Their offensive line is not bad. Their offensive line is actually a top 10 unit in the league this year. Armand Members had an all-pro level season as a rookie. Joe Tippmann's a really good guard. Olu Fashion, who played great against Myles Garrett, who had the worst game in his life, at least over the last 6 years. Thank you for the time. Not really. More calls. Say hello to Craig in Mattawan. Hello, Craig.
Hi. I'm not like the other call. I have no dog in the race either. But how can you say that Tyrod Taylor does not give you the best chance to win? I don't understand him saying that. And I'm not a Jet fan, but it's horrible. Him saying I'm not going to let him run because for his health or whatever. He was up night crying because he felt bad. You know who's up all night? Jet fans watching him play. It's horrible. Nobody can be that bad as a quarterback. Even Zach Wilson. I've seen bad giant quarterbacks. I've never seen somebody that bad. I don't even think I can, drunk, stoned, be that bad in Madden playing football. Are you insane? And this guy saying, oh, well, who are you going to start? Anybody. Somebody from the JV Long Island Massapequa team. Are you kidding me? How does this guy, and they're going to let him pick a quarterback? Oh, my God. Listen, the best thing, and that guy Connor said it correctly, the best thing the Jets should do, don't force it. If the quarterback's not there, if you build it, he will come. Don't take another person just to have a quarterback like Zach Wilson. These two do not know what they're doing, in my opinion. And I have no dog in the race, but I don't root against the Jets. I don't wish ill on the Jets at all. I just think it's horrible what their fans have to endure to poor ownership. And it's like the Knicks, before they got the president of basketball operations they have now. They can't get it right.
Well, that's the thing, Craig, right? We're hoping that Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji could be the equivalent of Tom Thibodeau and Leon Rose. Not off to a great start in that regard, although Muji extracted maximum value for the Sauce and Quinnen deals. Right? The Jets are set up with first-round picks and second-round picks galore now. And his other trades have been pretty good. His first draft was good, and Glenn is the ultimate decision-maker because Woody Johnson referred to Darren Muji as Glenn's sidekick at the introductory press conference. Let's not forget that. So Glenn can get credit for that, but so far, I don't see a great coach. We will see. You cannot start Fields. And look, Glenn said about 20 minutes ago when asked if he's considering a QB change that he's evaluating everything. So that feels like, to me, if Tyrod Taylor makes it through practice next week, which you never know with him because he's made of glass, he'll probably start. But if they got to go back to Fields, no. Get Brady Cook ready to play. People out there might be saying, who's Brady Cook? A UDFA from Missouri that is the number 3 quarterback on the team. Beat out Adrian Martinez in the preseason. Get him ready to play. I don't need to see Justin Fields again. I don't. Let's evaluate the in-house options before we're taking a quarterback in the draft. It might not be in the first round. I still think it is. But they're going to take a quarterback at some point, and they are going to definitely add another bridge quarterback as well. They have to. They have to. Let's say hello to Dave in the car. He's next on the K Show with Jake Asman. What's up, Dave?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me on. I'm just curious. One of the most disappointing things I find with Glenn and the new regime is, I'm like, as guys who've been in the NFL, if you have a vision in mind, you want bigger players, you have a certain type of style of play, and you can clearly see that the Jets were built by somebody else. What took you so long to make these deals prior to the trade deadline? Why wouldn't you just come in and gut this thing from the beginning and start from scratch? It's like you're starting from scratch, but we lost the season.
Well, Dave, you want to know why? You want to know why? Because they misevaluated the roster. Aaron Glenn came in, and when Quinnen Williams tweeted, I guess it's another rebuild after they got rid of Rodgers, he said, whoa, we're here to win now and going forward. Then told us that Justin Fields has never been coached up, and they could win with him. They could get the most out of him. He retained a lot of the guys on this team that we're complaining about. You're 1,000% right. Michael Clemens, they could have moved on. They brought him back. Tony Adams, Isaiah Oliver, they're the ones who paid Brandon Stevens. They're the ones who went out there and gave Jamie and Sherwood this massive extension. He doesn't look like a fit for this defense at linebacker, so you're 1,000% Quinnen deals. They waited till after they got their first win to make the announcement about the ticket increase to the season ticket holders, and then they traded away their two best defensive players, which was the right move, right? But how we got there is what's concerning to me, if that makes sense. I'm glad they got the value they did for those players. But it's now going forward, the coach being in charge to oversee this rebuild. I mean, maybe it's 2 years if they get the quarterback right. It could be sooner if they hit on a C.J. Stroud or Jaden Daniels, who are great right away in year one. But the Jets never do that. So that's what we're going to point to, maybe some hope. Like, okay, I hope. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. Richard in Manhattan is next. Hello, Richard.
Jake, there's one play yesterday. I do like Justin Fields. Good guy. I like he's a smart guy, avoids hits, but he cannot he cannot be a starting quarterback. Late in the game, or 2 minutes left, 2.5, they're driving. And I think it was on the left sideline, about the 20, Mitchell was running into the end zone. You remember the play? He was open by a step.
Yep.
Maybe two, but at least a step. It was so poorly thrown, it was underthrown. Not only it caught the defender by shock, it hit the defender on his knees. The ball hit at his knee length. I mean, that's how underthrown he threw it. He has no touch at all, zero. He can't deliver the ball. He cannot get the ball to the guy to make a play. And that was terrible. That wasn't even close, and the guy was open. It's not like he overthrew him. 99% of the time, the quarterback will overthrow the receiver in that. I've never seen that, where it was so badly underthrown, it hit the defender. He was shocked. He turned around, and it hit him on his knee. I mean, you can't. He's just not a starting NFL. I feel sorry for the guy because I like him. He's a good guy. He says all the right things, runs out of the pocket well, runs to the sideline, can score. He's dynamite down at inside the 5-yard line because of the fear of the run. He's good for that, but he just can't get the ball to the wide receivers. There's nothing you can do about that.
Richard, yeah, exactly. He's not consistent. Look, he's a good guy, but he's in his 5th year now. We don't need to do that. Well, maybe it's the coach or it's the O-line or the receiver. Like the bozo who called me the last segment saying, what do you expect with the Jets offensive line? It's bad, right? No, it's not. It's not a bad O-line. And he has Breece Hall, and he had Garrett Wilson. I thought the whole point of Fields was, well, he's got the instant chemistry with Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's proven to be quarterback-proof with Tim Boyle, Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, Joe Flacco, you name it, Chris Strevler. And then, here's Justin Fields, who he played with in college, and he's throwing him hospital balls, which is why Garrett Wilson's probably not playing another game this year for the Jets. I know Glenn said today they planned for him to come back, but it's up for the doctors. Why are we bringing Garrett Wilson back in mid-December with the Jets probably being at what? 3-13 at that point? 3-12? 800-919-3776. Jake Asman in for Michael K. Let's get back to your calls. Aaron Glenn, speaking with reporters about 30 minutes ago, asked if he's considering a quarterback change.
You know what? I'm evaluating everything, Rich, to be honest with you. And I'm evaluating myself, the players, schematics, coaches. I'm evaluating everything. So I don't want to just place everything on that one situation. I'm just looking at everything because as a head coach, that's my job, right, to make sure that I put this team in the best position to go win games.
It is, Aaron, and you haven't done that when you continue to start Justin Fields, when you didn't make the change at halftime, when he had 23 yards passing in a game you were lucky to only be down 7. Would have been the perfect time to go to Tyrod Taylor last night. The perfect time. Think about it. You could have been down 17-7. New England missed a field goal. Opportunity to go to Tyrod. They didn't do it. So what happens? The Jets actually get that stop to start the second half. They have the ball. They're driving. They're in New England territory. I think it's the 46-yard line. And then Justin Fields committed one of the dumbest intentional grounding penalties you'll see. Glenn has to make a change. It sounds like based on that answer, because he didn't shoot down the question, he didn't try and tar and feather Rich Cimini, who clearly was the reporter, based on that answer that asked the question. It sounds like if Tyrod Taylor's healthy, which he's not on the injury report, he should be healthy 10 days from now against the Ravens, it's going to be him. Because it's not even about winning the games, Jet fans. Do we have a receiver on this team worth bringing back besides Garrett? Can Mitchell catch the ball and be a part of this? He was getting open against Christian Gonzalez, who's a really good corner. That's not nothing. Mechie made plays last night. I want to see more from Mason Taylor. I want to be able to evaluate this roster. I want to be able to evaluate the play caller. I cannot do that with Justin Fields. I can't. 800-919-3776, 800-919. ESPN's the number. At Jake Asman on X. If you are interested in tweeting me, like Steve just did, he says, Aaron Glenn just said he didn't want to make a QB change just to get a spark. Really? Having more serious doubts about this dude. You should have tremendous doubts about him. I'm not going to say he can't turn it around because I guess that's a little unfair. But what confidence do you have that Woody Johnson actually picked the right guy? When you continue to hire first-time head coaches, and look, this is tough for me to say because I work with Mike Tannenbaum every Sunday from 8 to noon, and he vouched for Glenn. He was part of the 30-13 that was in the interviews, and he recommended Glenn. But I'm sorry, Aaron Glenn has done nothing that shows me he's going to be a good NFL head coach. What is his specialty? What's his strength? We talked to Connor Rogers about that last hour. You could say whatever you want about Robert Saleh. He was not a good head coach, but he was a hell of a defensive coach. Guys got better on that side of the ball. We saw improvement there. We saw development. They took guys off the waiver wire and turned them into all-pros. See Quincy Williams, Braxton Berrios. John Franklin Myers turned out to be a really good player. We saw Jamie and Sherwood go from a guy that was a day 3 pick, converted safety to linebacker. He's voted team MVP last year. Glenn couldn't wait to pay him and keep him. Now he's unplayable in a lot of these games. How does that make sense? Were Sauce and Quinnen having great years under Glenn? What does Aaron Glenn do really well as a head coach? Oh, Jake, the penalties have been cleaned up. No, they haven't. Last night, were they cleaned up? I think Jarvis Brownlee just committed another penalty. The Jets last night had 12 men on the field after a timeout. After a TV timeout, what are we doing? Oh, you can't make it up. So, yeah, he's going to get the year, and he conned Woody into this master plan of, but now he needs next year, too, and maybe 27 because they have all these picks. But we got to see major improvement, man, and I don't want to kill him because he's a former Jet. He wanted the job. I want to root for Aaron Glenn. He makes it so hard. He's so unlikable. He really is. He's asked after the London game by Brian Costello of the New York Post, you thinking about a quarterback change? What type of question is that? And then I'm sitting at the game the following week at MetLife, the world's worst giant stadium that looks like an air conditioning unit. And after 2 quarters, what does Aaron Glenn do? He benches Justin Fields 2 quarters later to go to Tyrod. It's just enough, man. The best thing Glenn did was hire Chris Banjo to be the special teams coordinator, who was recommended to him by Mike Westhoff, the GOAT. Special teams has improved this year. Nick Folk's amazing. We knew that. Austin McNamara is a great punter. But aren't we tired of being excited about our punter being our best player? I am. I know I'm not alone. Pete in Staten Island is up next on the Michael K. Show with Jake Asman. Hello, Pete.
Hey, Jay, thanks for taking my call. So I go back. I could not agree with you more. And, I mean, I want to see the guy be successful. But he's made all the wrong decisions from day one. Look, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. The guy flew to go see him, sit him down, and you tell him, listen, this is what I want to do. I want to change the culture. McAfee, that's it. No more. You have a problem with that? Okay. We need you to redo your contract. Why? We want to keep Adams. This wasn't a rebuild. And if all the things he goes through with Aaron Rodgers, you don't think the Fields could have learned behind Aaron Rodgers? And let's even go another step further. Let's say he doesn't do what they discussed. I don't know, you couldn't have got a 4th-round pick and traded him to the Bengals if he was that much of a distraction? You think that halftime display, that right before halftime, Rodgers would have been like, "Get off the field, I got it. I'll help you." He could have helped. They should have had a conversation. The guy flew there to talk to him. I don't know. I mean, my family has 12 season tickets to that stadium. I think they're crazy.
12.
I'm a Giant fan that converted my son to a Jet fan. I feel bad for him.
Hey, Pete, God bless your family. 12 season tickets. Look, here's the thing with Rodgers, and I'm someone that wanted him back. I actually think him not being back is better from this standpoint. I think if the Jets had Rodgers, they still would not be a good team because the coaching has been so bad. And I don't think him and Glenn would have worked personality-wise. And I think all the blame would be directed at Aaron Rodgers. And Glenn, because he's a Jet, he'd get the benefit of the doubt. And it'd be masking the real issue that I don't think this head coach is very good. Seriously, what has he improved? You want to say special teams? That, yes, it's important, but that can't be the only thing. It's just his handpicked quarterback was Justin Fields, and he's cost them games by sticking with him and being so stubborn with him. Incredibly frustrating. Tommy in Jersey City up next on the K Show with Jake Asman. What's up, Tommy? Happy Friday.
Jake, happy Friday. Thank you for taking my call. Just a two-part quick question. One, how much farther, in your opinion, do you think that this coach, Aaron Glenn, will keep Justin Fields on the field when he continuously can't throw the ball? He's worse than Zach Wilson. Do you think that there will be a change after Baltimore or before Baltimore? And the second part is...
real quick, Tommy, I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish. Based on what Glenn just said, I think if Tyrod is healthy, I'd be surprised with 10 days now in between games if it's not finally going to be Tyrod starting, but we'll see.
I mean, in my opinion, it has to be because this guy's in depth. Like, he cannot throw the ball or he doesn't want to throw the ball. I just don't get it. I feel the pain, man, for every Jet fan out there. Like, it's horrible. And the other second thing was just like the coach. How far can we keep Aaron Glenn? Like, because if we're going to draft a rookie quarterback next year, do you really have trust in this guy as a defensive coordinator who hasn't proven anything? Just being a cocky, you know what, on the sideline. Like, I don't trust him at all developing a quarterback. We need to get our quarterbacks coach is a running backs coach. I don't understand the philosophy of what the Jets are trying to do. We got to get better, man. We got to get better. And Jake, keep up the good work, brother. All right, love you,
Tommy. I appreciate it. Look, he's going to get a chance, I think, to pick the quarterback. And sometimes you could luck into it. But I don't know why any Jet fan would be confident. You know, the first draft by Muji and Glenn gets credit for the draft because he ultimately has the final say. It has not been terrible. They hit on Membo. He looks great. Mason Taylor looks like a nice player. Maybe we finally get to see more of him with Tyrod throwing him the ball. But it's just tough to overcome a bad coach. It just is. So he's got to get better if he's not going anywhere. And the thing is, he's not even an offensive coach. He's a defensive coach, and the defense is so bad. So bad. They don't have an interception this year. And by the way, I was talking about this with the great Ray Dinahan during one of the breaks. You could say whatever you want about Woody Johnson, right? Remember last year? He basically was the reason why Tony Adams got benched randomly. Yet Aaron Glenn couldn't wait, by the way, to bring this guy back. How about Tony Adams last night? The Jets finally are going to get their first interception of the season. And he's trucking, I think it was Quantez Stiggers out of the way. And then Tony Adams gets up and is celebrating like he made a good play. Dude. Oh, and I shouldn't care this much. And the problem is I still do. And that's what sucks. I wish I could just turn it off. I can't. All right? You guys think Rothenberg is bad with the Giants. You have no idea what I'm capable of. It's disgusting to watch this team. Oh, but Jake, they played hard last night. Is that really where the bar is? This team was not supposed to be the worst team in the league. They look like they were the first 7 games. They've been better of late. They could beat the Browns. They could beat the Bengals. To quote Michael Kay, they're the champions of Ohio. And I get it. Last night, no one thought they were going to win. I certainly did it. But you had a chance to if your head coach gave you every opportunity to do so. And that's what concerns me about the future. If maybe they do add to the talent, right? They had talent under Saleh. He wasn't a good enough head coach. So they moved on. But he's so much better than Glenn to this point. Aaron Glenn today. Hey, we need to get the ball more to Breece Hall.
No doubt. That's something that we got to get better at, and we got to make sure we target Breece a lot more. A lot of the route concepts that we had was really, set for certain guys to really get the ball. When that guy's not open, then we get ready to dump it off, and Breece a part of that. But also, Breece is in protection quite a bit, too, so that has a lot to do with it, too. But you're right. We have to make sure that we can build these concepts to where Breece gets the ball more in the passing game.
Well, let me say this to Aaron Glenn. That is a Nate Hackett quote. Remember Nate Hackett had the great line after the Jets, I use the word defeated loosely, but they did defeat the Giants in 2023. I was at that game in the rain, and Breece Hall, I think on just a dump-off, took a reception from Zach Wilson, 70 yards, scored, was the difference in the game. And Hackett, the following press conference, said, yeah, we didn't realize just how dynamic Breece was with the ball in his hands. Like, dude. I mean, Aaron Glenn, it's week 10. There's video of you over the summer that the Jets, the in-house media team, posted. You mic'd up talking to Breece, being like, we're going to use you a lot this year. Referring to him being used as a receiver, saying there's no linebacker or safety that can match up with you. We don't see it. And he's in protection a lot. Well, guess what? Put Isaiah Davis out there and line Breece Hall up as a receiver. He's better than any receiver you have besides Garrett Wilson, who's not playing, who's out because your quarterback, who can't play, threw a hospital ball to him, which likely ended his season. I cannot listen to this head coach say, in week 10, we got to get Breece the ball more. He doesn't have a clue. He has no feel for the quarterback position, no feel for offense. And yes, he's going to be here no matter what, so he can pick the quarterback. Great. At least he's frustrated with the loss.
It's probably the first time I really verbalized to you guys that I was frustrated the loss of this game. I'm frustrated on every loss, all right, but this one was really frustrating. The fact that we had an opportunity to show the world exactly how we've grown as a team in all three phases. And, man, the one thing that we didn't do well is our execution wasn't as high as I wanted it to be. And the one thing that I talked to the team about during the week, especially on these Thursday games, the one thing that you have, well, three things that you have to do is, one, the preparation has to be on point, and that has a lot to do with the recovery, absorbing the game plan, and just for us in general, growing within our process.
It's so frustrating. At least he's frustrated. I don't know. I think the Jet fan is more frustrated than you are, Aaron. We've been at this a lot longer. 800-919-3776. Let's say hi to Gil in Brooklyn. Hello, Gil.
How you doing, Jake? The best option for if you want to, you're helping on keeping Fields on this team. You remember, I believe the guy's name was Johnson. He was a quarterback that the Jets used in the special teams and in special run plays for him in the offense. That's the option for Justin Fields. Put Tyrod or whoever at the quarterback and use him in specialty plays if you're that hell-bent on keeping this guy in the game. As a quarterback, we cannot do this because
Gil, I think you mean Brad Smith. I don't think it's
Brad Smith. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Brad Smith. Use him as a Brad Smith type because one of the things he can do is he can run. So you use him at that, but starting him at a quarterback, you're killing the rest of the team, the other 52 guys on this roster, because they see it. I know Aaron sees it. And I don't know if this is so blatantly bad. I'm starting to think that there's someone telling Aaron, no, you keep him as the quarterback because he's a smart guy. He's played football. He's been a pro. You cannot see that this guy can't quarterback? Come on.
Gil, well said. Well said. I think the problem is he wants to be right about Fields. I think Glenn's very stubborn, very set in his ways. And he said, we signed him because he gave my defense so many fits in Detroit, which is a concern right there. He also said he's never been coached properly, right? Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, who benched him at 4-2, didn't know what they had. Really? Like, come on, man. He's in his fifth year. You owe it to the other guys on your team. I agree with Gil because the Jets, I don't think they're properly coached on defense. They played hard last night. Offensively, the O-line came ready to go. That opening drive was awesome. But then when the scripted stuff ran out, when Engstrand threw everything against the wall and Vrabel adjusted, they had nothing. And you had a chance to stay in this game, maybe steal the game if you went to Tyrod. Just like you win the London game if you go to Tyrod at halftime. And you'll never convince me that if they went to Tyrod in the London game, they win that game and stay with Tyrod, and he actually gets a full week to prepare as the starter, Maybe they come out and look a lot better in the Carolina game, and that was a one-score game, and maybe they win that one. Instead, Tyrod came in the second half of that game, and he was rusty. He looked like a guy that hadn't played since week 3. Maybe they still lose, but at least you run a conventional offense. Like Engstrand couldn't wait to call pass plays that day because he knew he couldn't with Fields. Aaron Glenn was so afraid of Justin Fields passing, he didn't let him throw a Hail Mary twice. It's 2025. He's not a rookie. This is not Rex Ryan with the red, yellow, and green cards on the sideline to let Sanchez know, hey, how aggressive can you be? If it's a green light, you could take chances. If it's a yellow, hey, maybe, maybe not. If it's red, no way. Justin Fields is in his 5th season. What are we doing? I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I still care this much, but I do, and it drives me crazy